You guys, what is going on? So I know I already made a video on amino acids and I made it today. But when I'm at the gym between my sets, I like to do a little bit of research. I like to keep my mind kind of like, I know that I need to be focused on my workout, but I need to rest in between sets, and I'll just end up pacing between sets. So I like to read a little bit in between. So today, considering I was really, buying a lot of these amino acids and doing stuff like that, I really wanted to do more research on it. I've watched a lot of reviews on certain things, different amounts of grams of things, talk of ratios and stuff like that. And I'm like, what is the answer? Like there's gotta be an answer. So you hear for the branch chains, which now all the research is saying just branch chains are pretty much terrible. But the research for the last decade or whatever, like what people have been using has been the 2:1:1 ratio. I've seen some that have a 12:1:1 ratio. We're talking about, I think leucine is the top one, and then the other two branch chains are 1:1. 12:1:1, 10:1:1, and it's like, all right, well, what, all the research is on the 2:1:1, but now all of that is irrelevant because EAAs came in. So it's like, is leucine, I've heard leucine is the best one. Should we just jack up the leucine? So it's hard to say, I think a lot of research maybe had been done on leucine being effective, branch chains being effective, and now they're saying that research isn't quite supported, I guess. So it's hard to know what to believe. But the reason I even care about the ratios is just because I talked about the real aminos before, talking about their entire claim to fame is not the amount of aminos that they have, it's the ratio. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it mixes and tastes really good. And I'm okay with paying the price if it's effective, but it's just kind of like, what makes it so special? Like the ratio, but what about the ratio is so special? So I went online, looked at it. I was trying to find, the studies that they had, but I was basically just reading their site, and then they had a little circle graph on there showing, human skeletal muscle, and they gave these numbers for each of the amino acids. Now they weren't percentages, but so let's say, for example, like leucine was at 21, and I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head. I think it was 21. But so they were like 21, 20, 15, 13, stuff like that. And so I was doing percentages on that, and just looking at ratios, and I'm like, they're not saying that this is exactly the ratios that they're using in their product. They actually were missing one of the essential amino acids, which I thought was pretty interesting. But I'm not sure if that's what they're using in their products, but they're using that graph to show that is the optimal, or not the optimal ratio, but that is the ratio in skeletal muscle. So it's like, all right, well, is that the optimal ratio? Is that what they're using? Is that what they're basing this off of? And it was very similar, but slightly different to some of the other products that I saw using the 9 amino acids in their ratios. But so many ones had, smaller amounts of, grams or even portions of a gram, like X amount of milligrams in their ratio, that it was like, all right, well, maybe this product has the correct amount, whatever the ratio, whatever the optimal ratio is, but the numbers are so much lower than the real, which is 3.6 grams. So I was looking at stuff, and I found one, which I think is Now Sports, that has, I think it's around a 5-gram blend, and it's, the recommended ratio that some association said was like the optimal ratio. Now, the ratio that they gave on their product, some guy said that they researched it and said that that is the correct ratio. Like, I went through it all. I spent the time and I looked, and it is correct. The ratio that they gave is pretty much exactly the same as the ratio that the graph on that the Real Amino website has. So again, I don't know if that is the ratio that they use in their products. I kind of doubt it, just considering I don't know if they'd release that if it's patented, but it just got me thinking, like, so if this is, Real has their own research, whereas there's just general research that's not trying to sell a specific product, but just trying to say this is the optimal ratio. So that powder for the Now Sports, it has, like I said, 5 grams. It has X amount of servings. I think it's 59 or 60 servings in there, and it's $25. So it's just kind of weird to think. So the Real Aminos have 30 servings in there, and their blend is 3.6 grams, whereas this is, I believe, 5 grams, 60 servings, and it's $25. So the Real is like, in the high 30s, low 40s, depending on where you get it. So to me, it's like, all right, obviously the Real Aminos mix really well, tastes great, but it's actually a lower amount of, aminos in there. And I'm guessing it's a similar ratio. Not maybe the exact one, but a very similar ratio. And then the research that Real has is like, okay, this amount so the 3.6 grams that you take is X amount more effective than whey protein at 15 grams of whey protein. So basically they're saying that, and other things have said this as well, that whey protein, the usage rate is not very high, and it's higher in like fish and meat, and it's like supposed to be really high in eggs, so eggs are a very good source of protein, whereas like whey protein is not as quality, which is kind of in line with what I've kind of been taught, that real food is better, but the type of food is definitely different as well. So this just kind of led me to believe that, hey, Real is selling this idea that this 3.6 grams is more effective than whey protein, which in relation to food isn't very effective. And then if you get 15 grams, which would be, 3.6, 15 divided by 3.6 is, that's a few scoops there, probably like 4 scoops. And so now you're looking at, you got 4 scoops, 30 servings with that 15 grams. Now you're really only getting like 10 days out of that. So, and I understand that, other things you would have to take multiple scoops as well. I understand that, but it's a lot easier to get to that 15 gram mark with, you get 3 servings. So it would last you a $25 tub of Now would last you 20 days, and it would be cheaper than, the Real if they had the same ratio. So what you're really sacrificing there is the mixability and the taste. And I just kind of figured, I don't really want to be blowing through like $45 tubs of this. So obviously I already bought it, so I'm going to use it. But I think I'm going to try, and I already ordered that, the Now Sports one, and I'm just going to see. So I'm going to try and finish off the Optimum Nutrition one. And I know I keep flip-flopping on this, but it's just been in my mind the last couple days, really, like what this ratio really means and if it's actually super important. So I basically, when I've been using the Optimum Nutrition at a lower amount, so not taking as many servings a day, I haven't really been getting great results recently, other than on my overhead press. But I think that's more of just less about building muscle in my shoulders and more just about, getting the reps up, because it's not something that I've really done. So I'm experimenting on them again, but basically it seems like I found that this, Now Sports thing seems to be the most cost-effective, best ratio, and the entire claim to fame that Real has, with its ratios, kind of, it's easier to get in a cheaper factor. And again, obviously, mixability, taste is much better. The artificial flavors or whatever they use, I guess it's maybe not artificial, but whatever they use in here makes it taste great and it's awesome. But if you're trying to save some money, maybe you can try the Now Sports. So basically, kind of what I've learned from all of this is that there's all these aminos, and the ratio is super important because otherwise it might not get used appropriately. And I think, the Now Sports, from what I found, is the most cost-effective way to do that. And if you don't care about cost, then maybe go with Real. And I'm going to try the other ones that I bought. But that's kind of what I'm going with right now is, finish off my Real and then go to the Now Sports and see if that can continue to get me some good results. So just wanted to put that out there. I don't want to try and sell you a more expensive product if you don't think that's important. The taste, like you can probably mix it in with something else. And I don't know if that messes with the ratios. I really don't know. But anyway, just want to put that out there. Didn't want to mislead anybody. Just kind of going through this, making this up as I go. So that's all I got, and I'll keep you updated.